How is it going, YouTube? Most Sports Network here today with our second day in a row of NFL draft grades and recaps. Today we're going to do the NFC East, where we have, starting off with the Philadelphia Eagles. We're going to dive straight into it. No long tangent to start the video. And we're just going to start off by talking about their first round pick in Jalen Rhaegar. So I kind of addressed this pick in a similar fashion to the Brandon Ayuk pick, to where Rhaegar I do not think was the appropriate receiver taken. In my eyes, I would have taken Justin Jefferson, who went the next pick overall to the Minnesota Vikings. But I can't dog it too hard because they need a receiver really badly. But I just think this one was not the appropriate one for them to take. Like, he's small, and sure, he's fast, but I just have not seen out of him what I saw out of guys like Jefferson and Denzel Mims and T. Higgins and even guy out of USC, Michael Pittman, even to an extent. Rhaegar and Pittman are probably on similar levels. I think 21's a little early for him. Jalen Hurts, a lot of people despise this pick, Eagles fans in particular. And second round, especially when you see guys like Eason and Fromm go in like the fourth, fifth round, that's early, but I don't hate the pick that much because the Eagles clearly need a backup quarterback who's capable and better than Nate Sudfeld with Carson Wentz's injury history. Second is early, but I think Jalen Hurts is a quarterback that can come in and help out when Wentz inevitably gets hurt. If Wentz never gets hurt again, they threw this pick in the garbage can, and that's unfortunate for the Eagles. But I'm not seen from Wentz yet that he can stay healthy the entire year. So in that case, Jalen Hurts, not a great pick, but a pick that will play at least. And then the rest of the draft, and I know the rest of the draft is not really going to play much like this year. Like Davion Taylor, their linebacking core is weak. I just don't think Davion Taylor, especially in the third round, is that great of a player. So I don't see him really starting for the Eagles. So will he be linebacker depth if the Eagles get injured again? Sure. And then Kayvon Wallace, he'll get playing time. He's good depth out of Clemson in the fourth round. And then other than that, I don't see many people drafted here playing. Jack Driscoll, solid tackle out of Auburn. But with Andre Dillard and with Lane Johnson not going anywhere in the near future, he's not really going to play much. And then John Hightower and Quez Watkins. I like Hightower a decent bit, but he's a fifth-round receiver nonetheless. In Philly, you got your three guys. You got Jeffrey, you have Rhaegar now, and you have Jackson if he can stay healthy, and then you have Greg Ward and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. So John Hightower comes in probably, I think those would be the five guys better than him. So he'd probably be like the sixth receiver. So in the fifth round, sixth receiver, not a horrible pick. Maybe Hightower can get on top of like a Ward or an Arcega-Whiteside and get some playing time. So I don't hate that pick. And then you got Shawn Bradley out of Temple. He's going to be depth. Watkins will be depth. Prince Tega Wanoko in the sixth round is really solid value. I liked him in the late third, early fourth. He goes into sixth. So that's solid. He's not really going to play on the Eagles, but getting him overall is good value. Then Casey Toohill is going to be depth. So overall, at the end of the day, the Eagles got one starter in Jalen Rhaegar, and the rest of the draft is kind of and then a lot of the value was questionable. So overall, I'm going to go and give this draft a B-. I don't hate it that much, but a lot of these players, I I'm just interested in the talent evaluation in Philly. I had players better available than Rhaegar. I think Hurts went early. I had better linebackers available than Davion Taylor. So those like first three picks are pretty suspect for the Eagles. I think Kayvon Wallace is solid and Tego Winogo. They kind of save this draft, even though they're not going to be starters or play much. But I I don't despise the draft. I just don't see them getting particularly that much better than they were last year. And that's a problem as I talk about the teams in this division who definitely got a lot better. And I just don't see the Eagles' growth in the way those other teams went. Now we're going to hop over and switch gears to the Washington football Redskins. So their first pick is Chase Young. He's probably pound for pound the best player in this draft. Depending, he probably is. Joe Burrow, just because of positional value at quarterback, I had him higher on my board. But just pound for pound player, Chase Young's probably the best player in this class, and you get him at pick 2. So good for you. I gave that pick an A on draft night. Still an A pick. And then the rest of the draft kind of falls off a little bit for me. Antonio Gibson and Antonio Gandy Golden. They probably will both make the team. Gibson, gadget player out of Memphis. He can take snaps from the backfield. He can be a receiver. He can do a lot of things. And then Gandy Golden is just a nice receiver to add to a really weak core. It's Terry McLaurin and everyone else. Just a bunch of bodies in Washington. So just another receiver. And then Sadiq Charles. He's fine. Like 4th round is probably about correct for him. But you trade Trent Williams, who's like an all-pro, and you get Charles back. And I know that Trent Williams didn't really want to play for the Redskins anymore, but Sadiq Charles is going to be far from that. So that's their first 4 picks. And then the other 3, they're just going to be depth guys. I don't really see, like Keith Ismail, he will probably be the backup center. Ideally, he doesn't play for the Redskins, and then Hudson Curl and Smith Williams are just going to be special teamers. I don't really see them ever making much on this team. That's just me. Hudson has some upside, but that's what you get in 5th, 7th round picks and such. So this draft is a little hard for me to grade because I think Young is he's the best player in the draft. It's at a position they really didn't need all that much, but they're going to have a nasty defensive line, which that's something you love to have in the NFC East. And then Gibson and Gandy Golden, I think they're about appropriate value, and the Redskins need weapons, so that's pretty good. Charles, probably not going to start, and so you trade Trent Williams, get a tackle, and he's probably not even going to start. That's a bit concerning, but I think the 4th's about correct value for Charles. And so you look at the Redskins, and I'm gonna give them overall. I'm gonna throw them a B plus, especially since I don't know what role Gibson will have. I don't know if Charles can start. So the only players on this team, or the only player out of this draft, besides Chase Young, of course, who's the best player, best edge rusher we've graded since Myles Garrett, who's going to get playing time on this team, is Gandy Golden. And so that's a bit concerning. Similar in the Eagles' realm of they just did not get as better as the other 2 teams in the division. Overall, some decent picks. I don't hate it, but B plus for the Redskins overall for me. Then we're gonna flip over to the Cowboys, and geez, A plus for the Cowboys. I loved this draft. I think besides the Ravens, this is probably my favorite draft. Period. I think the Cowboys got so much better out of this draft. I'm going to talk about all their picks because they all deserve to be talked about. CeeDee Lamb, pair him with Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup. That's a dangerous 1-2-3 receiving core for Dak to throw to. Then you go to the defense. Corner was going to be a need. So you get Trayvon Diggs, an arguable first-round pick, and Reggie Robinson out of Tulsa. He'll be a depth guy. You can afford to lose some guys because you have cap problems in Dallas. You're allowed to lose a couple guys now because you have two really solid potential starter corners come in. At defensive tackle, they needed help on the line. You get Neville Gallimore, who's a freak out of Oklahoma. And I think my first mock this year, I had him going in the first round, and he goes in the third. Awesome. And you get Tyler Biadasz out of Wisconsin. He with Travis Frederick surprisingly retiring, I think Biadasz at some point for a fifth rounder could come in and be the future center for the Cowboys. So beautiful. Bradley and Nye out of Utah in the fifth round late. I think that's really good value for him. I had late third, early fourth grade on Bradley and Nye. And they get him in the fifth round as an edge rusher with guys like Tyrone Crawford and Randy Gregory, amongst other guys. I think they got Alden Smith on the team now. Who knows if any of those guys will be able to stay on the field. So Bradley and Nye will probably get playing time as a fifth rounder out of Utah, and I think he deserves it because he's a good player. Then finally, Ben DiNucci out of James Madison. He is a winner, and that's just something that I love about him. As a seventh rounder, he did play FCS football, but he is such a winner at the FCS level. Like, the only team they lose to is North Dakota State in the championship game, and no one beats North Dakota State. So I like the Ben DiNucci pick as a backup to Andy Dalton and Dak Prescott, just as a developmental seventh round quarterback. I like every single pick the Cowboys made. I'm giving it an A+. Beautiful stuff by them. We're going to move on to the Giants now. I have nothing else to say. Cowboys freaking nailed it, and I think they have a very good chance to win the division next year because of it. And then we're going to go to the New York Giants. I like what they did a lot. So Andrew Thomas, he was a top 3 tackle in this class in my eyes. He was the 4th overall pick in the draft. Did I like Jedrick Wills and Wirfs a little better? Just a little bit. But I think Andrew Thomas, it's so close between those three, and O-line is such a big need for the Giants. I don't mind the pick at all. Then you get the best safety in the draft, and Xavier McKinney in the second round out of Bama. I think probably the pick 36 is about where I'd rank him, but you get the best safety in the draft, another Alabama safety. He is solid, and it's a solid pick. You get Matt Pert in the third. I think late second, early third was pretty good value for Matt Pert. I think he could be a Nate Solder replacement when he's done, because he's not going to be in New York forever. So I really like that pick there. You solidify your offensive line, whether Nate Solder stays or not, for Daniel Jones with these two picks here. So I like that a lot. And then after that, you take a look. Darnay Holmes, Darnay Holmes is cool at a huge position of need with DeAndre Baker potentially not being there next year. That becomes one of the Giants' biggest needs if DeAndre Baker can't be there. So Darnay Holmes, solid depth corner. He's going to get playing time next year. Then other guys, I like the attacking of linebacker, similar to the Cincinnati Bengals did. Now, I know they were all with 6th and 7th round picks, but Cam Brown, Carter Coughlin, T.J. Brunson, and Tay Crowder, all out of schools known for their defense in SEC and Big Ten schools. I think at least one of them will stick. And since their biggest, I think linebacker is probably the biggest hole on the team, besides secondary at this point. So I like how they attacked linebacker there. And then Lemieux, he'll be a backup. Williamson, probably a backup. Could make the team with the Baker departure potentially. So I like this Giants draft pound for pound. I'm going to give it an A. And that's kind of why I threw like the B- and B+ at the other teams in the division. Like, this is what you need to get an A draft. Two potential future starting offensive linemen, a solid starting safety, potential starting corner. the attacking of positional need in late rounds and doing it appropriately with the linebacker position. I really like what the Giants did overall. I think they have players that can help them this year to jump up and maybe not compete because the Eagles and the Cowboys are still very good, and I have to see what Daniel Jones does in his second year, but the Giants got a lot better in this draft. So, to recap, the Eagles, value-wise and positional rankings-wise, I disagree with some of the picks, but they got a lot of depth in a lot of places just in case they have the injury issues like they did these past couple years. I'm going to give it a B minus just because I don't like the value for a lot of players, but I think it has the potential to pan out. Just didn't do quite enough compared to the other teams in the division. Redskins, I gave it a B plus. Besides Chase Young, a lot of the draft is unknown here, especially how are they going to implement Gibson? Will Charles play at all at any point? Will the rest of the picks get on the field besides Young and Gandy Gold? I'm not sure. And that's why I give this draft a B plus, despite getting probably the best player in the draft. Cowboys, love every single pick they have. They got really good value, and every pick will I think every pick besides DiNucci will make an impact on this team this year, which is all you can ask for and more. And then finally, the Giants, they got better at some of their biggest places of need, and they got some quality starters, and that's what you need in a rebuilding team like the Giants. Depth and starters. I know that sounds really obvious, but that's just important for a rebuilding team, just to get quality football players on the team. And the Giants got a bunch of them in this draft. So that's an A for them in my book. So that's all from me today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I have been Mo Sports Network, and I will see you guys tomorrow with the AFC South draft grades. So I will see you guys then. Peace out.